The soft ringing of camel bells drifts across the darkness. Somewhere beyond the reach of firelight, animals shift quietly in the cool night air. A few travelers sit beside glowing embers, wrapped in heavy cloaks, while sparks rise slowly toward a sky filled with stars. The desert stretches in every direction, silent and immense, as though it has no beginning and no end. A road disappears into that darkness. Not a road marked by stone or fences, not a road that can always be seen. Only a path remembered by travelers, a route carried in stories, a direction passed from one caravan to another. Far beyond the horizon lie distant cities, cities whose names sound almost mythical to those who have never seen them. Cities filled with unfamiliar languages, strange goods, and people whose lives unfold beneath different skies. And between them all lies a vast world waiting to be crossed. Tonight, there is no need to hurry. There is no need to remember every place or every name. You need only travel slowly, step by step, campfire by campfire, road by road. Together, we will follow one of the greatest journeys ever taken. Not the story of a single merchant, not the story of a single empire, but the story of a network of roads that stretched across deserts, mountains, valleys, and grasslands, connecting worlds that once seemed impossibly far apart. Before caravans crossed great deserts, before silk traveled across continents, before distant civilizations exchanged ideas, goods, and stories, there was simply the desire to move, the desire to wander beyond familiar hills, the desire to see what existed beyond the next valley, the desire to trade something ordinary for something unknown. Long ago, people lived in scattered settlements surrounded by landscapes that felt endless. Some villages stood beside rivers that flooded each year and left fertile soil behind. Others rested near grasslands where animals wandered beneath enormous skies. Some communities lived among mountains where snow lingered on distant peaks even during warmer seasons. Most people spent their lives close to home. Their days followed familiar rhythms, the changing seasons, the planting of crops, the care of animals, the gathering of food. Yet even in those early times, curiosity quietly pulled at people. A hunter following migrating animals might discover unfamiliar territory. A shepherd guiding flocks across seasonal pastures might encounter strangers. A traveler seeking water might find another settlement hidden beyond a ridge. And whenever people met, they exchanged more than greetings. They exchanged objects, ideas, stories, knowledge. One person possessed something another desired, perhaps a rare stone, perhaps a beautifully crafted tool, perhaps salt gathered from distant lands, perhaps shells collected beside a faraway sea. Trade began not with grand ambitions, but with simple human encounters. A gift offered, a bargain made, a conversation shared. Small exchanges slowly linked neighboring communities together. Over time, those connections grew. Paths formed between villages. Trails appeared beside rivers. Footprints became routes. Routes became traditions. And traditions became journeys repeated again and again. Somewhere beyond the dunes, another campfire flickers beneath the night sky. Travelers who have never met each other rest beneath the same stars. The world is still vast, yet invisible threads are already beginning to connect it. As generations passed, people learned more about the landscapes surrounding them. Rivers became natural highways. Valleys offered easier passage through rugged terrain. Mountain gaps revealed routes once thought impossible. The earth itself began teaching travelers where to go. Merchants slowly emerged among these early networks. Unlike farmers who remained in one place, merchants carried goods from settlement to settlement. Their livelihoods depended upon movement. Their success depended upon relationships. They learned which villages produced fine pottery, which regions offered valuable metals, which communities possessed rare resources. A merchant's knowledge often became more valuable than the goods being carried. Knowing where to find something was nearly as important as possessing it. And so, information traveled alongside trade. News moved from one settlement to another. Stories crossed landscapes. Rumors spread. Ideas wandered. A traveler might arrive carrying not only baskets or tools, but tales of distant places. Places where rivers flowed wider. Places where mountains touched the clouds. Places where cities stood larger than anything local people could imagine. Those stories stirred curiosity. Curiosity inspired movement. Movement created new connections. And each connection made the world feel slightly smaller. Yet the distances remained enormous. A journey that might take hours today once required weeks. A journey of weeks might require months. The farther people traveled, the more unfamiliar the world became. Languages changed, customs changed, food changed, clothing changed. Even the stars sometimes appeared different depending on where one stood. Still, travelers continued moving, not because the journeys were easy, but because they offered possibility. A merchant might return with goods unavailable anywhere nearby. A traveler might discover new opportunities. A family might find prosperity through distant connections. And so roads continued expanding, slowly, patiently, almost unnoticed. Far away beyond mountain ranges and deserts, entire civilizations were also growing. Cities rose beside great rivers. Markets expanded. Craftsmen refined their skills. Governments organized roads and trade systems. As populations increased, so did demand for resources. People desired products that could not be found locally. Fine fabrics, precious stones, rare spices, beautiful ceramics, exotic animals. Every desire created another reason to travel farther. The world was gradually becoming connected through countless individual choices. No one person designed this vast network. No ruler sat down and planned every route. Instead, it emerged naturally. One traveler at a time. One trade agreement at a time. One successful journey at a time. Like streams flowing together into larger rivers, countless local paths slowly merged into something far greater, something that would eventually stretch across continents. Yet that future remains far ahead. For now, the world still feels fragmented. Huge spaces separate civilizations. Deserts create barriers. Mountains block passage. Weather challenges travelers at every turn. The road ahead remains uncertain. Many routes are still little more than faint tracks across open land. And yet people continue moving, because the horizon always promises something beyond itself. A merchant setting out at dawn rarely knows everything that lies ahead. There may be storms. There may be delays. There may be opportunities impossible to predict. That uncertainty becomes part of the journey, part of the attraction, part of the story. The fire beside our camp burns lower. The night grows quieter. A cool wind glides gently across the desert. Some travelers have already fallen asleep. Others stare silently into the glowing coals, thinking of distant destinations, thinking of families waiting at home, thinking of roads stretching beyond imagination. The world before the Silk Road is not yet connected by great caravans. No endless lines of camels cross the deserts. No famous trading cities dominate the routes. No traveler can yet follow a continuous path from one side of Asia to the other. But the foundations are already forming. Curiosity, trade, movement, human connection, the simplest of desires, to see what lies beyond the horizon, and somewhere beyond that horizon, the first chapters of a much larger journey are waiting to begin. The morning begins with footsteps. Not many. Only a handful of travellers moving quietly through the pale light of dawn. The air is cool. Shadows stretch across open ground. Birds call from distant trees, while small groups of merchants prepare animals, tighten ropes, and arrange bundles of goods for another day on the road. No one standing here could yet see the entire network that was beginning to emerge. No traveller could stand atop a mountain and observe the vast chain of routes that would one day connect distant civilizations. Instead, they saw only the next destination, the next river crossing, the next village, the next market. And yet, little by little, those short journeys were becoming something much larger. As settlements grew into towns and towns grew into cities, the desire for trade expanded alongside them. People no longer sought only what neighboring communities possessed. They wanted things from farther away. Objects carrying an air of mystery. Materials unlike anything produced locally. Items that hinted at distant lands and unfamiliar lives. A merchant arriving from far away often attracted immediate attention. People gathered around wagons and pack animals. Questions were asked. Stories were exchanged. Children watched with curiosity. Adults examined unfamiliar goods. Every arrival brought a small glimpse of another world. In some places, traders carried fine fabrics woven by skilled artisans. Elsewhere, they offered colourful dyes, polished stones, crafted tools, or carefully preserved foods. The goods themselves mattered, but so did the stories attached to them. A piece of cloth became more valuable when people imagined the distant city where it had been made. A carved ornament became more fascinating when linked to lands beyond the horizon. Trade transformed objects into connections, and connections transformed distant places into something imaginable. Far away in the east, powerful kingdoms continued expanding their influence across fertile valleys and busy settlements. Roads improved, markets grew larger. Governments sought ways to manage increasing movement between regions. In the West, other civilizations flourished beside rivers, coastlines, and mountain ranges. Each society possessed goods others desired. Each possessed knowledge others lacked. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, routes began extending farther than ever before. The process was gradual. No trumpet announced the birth of the Silk Road. No single moment marked its beginning. Instead, countless small journeys overlapped. One merchant travelled farther than previous generations. Another discovered a reliable route through difficult terrain. A caravan leader shared knowledge about water sources. A local guide revealed safer paths through hills and valleys. Each piece of information became part of a growing network. A network built not by maps, but by memory. Many travellers carried entire routes in their minds. They remembered landmarks, they remembered rivers, they remembered places where fresh water could be found. They remembered welcoming villages and dangerous stretches of wilderness. Knowledge passed from person to person, often beside campfires, often during shared meals, often while resting beneath stars after long days of travel. Somewhere beyond the hills, another group of merchants prepares for departure. Their animals stand quietly in the early sunlight. Dust rises softly beneath their feet. The road ahead remains uncertain, yet they begin moving all the same. Among the most valuable goods gradually entering these growing trade networks was silk, light as air, smooth to the touch, shimmering beneath sunlight. To many who encountered it for the first time, silk seemed almost magical. Its production remained carefully guarded in parts of Eastern Asia. The methods used to create it were known only to a limited number of people. This secrecy added to its fascination. When silk appeared in distant markets, it attracted immediate attention. Merchants recognized its value. Nobles admired its beauty. Travelers carried stories about it across enormous distances. Not every piece of silk completed the entire journey across Asia. In fact, many goods changed hands numerous times. One merchant sold to another. A trader in one city exchanged goods with traders from elsewhere. Objects moved gradually, passing through countless hands before reaching their final destinations. The road itself functioned less like a single highway and more like a chain of connected links. A traveler might know only part of the route. Another traveler continued the journey, then another. Together, they formed a system far larger than any individual could fully understand. This arrangement allowed ideas to travel alongside goods. A story told in one city might eventually reach another hundreds or thousands of miles away. A new technique developed by craftsmen could spread through trade contacts. Languages borrowed words from one another. Customs crossed borders. Even recipes sometimes followed trade routes. People rarely noticed these gradual changes while they were happening. Yet the exchanges quietly shaped daily life. A traveler arriving in a market town often encountered unfamiliar sights. Different clothing, different accents, different foods cooking over open fires. The experience could feel surprising, but also exciting. Every market offered opportunities to learn, opportunities to observe, opportunities to understand how other people lived. Many merchants became skilled listeners. Success often depended upon relationships. Trust mattered. Reputation mattered. A reliable merchant found doors opening more easily. A trustworthy caravan leader attracted companions willing to travel together. Friendships formed between people who might never have met under other circumstances. The road encouraged cooperation. After all, long journeys were rarely completed alone. Travelers often moved in groups for safety and support. Together, they crossed unfamiliar terrain. Together, they navigated changing weather. Together, they shared information. And together, they carried the growing network forward. As routes expanded, certain locations became increasingly important. Crossroads emerged where multiple paths converged. Settlements located near rivers or mountain passes attracted merchants seeking convenient stopping points. Markets expanded around these locations. Storage facilities appeared. Workshops multiplied. More travelers meant more opportunities. More opportunities attracted more people. And gradually, small settlements evolved into bustling trading centers. At sunset, these places often felt alive with movement. Animals arriving from distant lands, merchants negotiating prices, craftsmen displaying their work, travelers searching for lodging, voices blending together in multiple languages. Yet even amid such activity, moments of quiet still appeared. A merchant sitting beside a lantern, a traveler gazing toward distant mountains, a caravan leader reviewing plans for tomorrow's journey. The road never truly slept, but it often slowed, and during those quieter moments, people reflected upon how far they had traveled and how far remained. The distances involved were astonishing. Weeks became months. Months sometimes became years. A journey across multiple regions demanded patience. The road taught travelers to think differently about time. Progress came slowly, one step, 1 mile, one camp at a time. The horizon never seemed to get closer, yet somehow travelers continued moving forward. There was comfort in routine. Wake before sunrise, prepare animals, pack goods, follow the route, pause at midday, continue onward, make camp, share a meal, sleep beneath the stars, repeat, day after day. The rhythm became familiar, and familiarity made vast distances feel manageable. The growing trade routes connected landscapes as different as deserts, fertile plains, forests, grasslands, and mountain valleys. Each environment shaped the journey in its own way. Each presented unique challenges. Each demanded adaptation. Yet together, they formed parts of a single expanding system. A system not yet known by the name we use today, but one already carrying the earliest signs of something remarkable. A road that was becoming more than a road. A network that was becoming more than trade. A bridge between worlds. The sun begins sinking toward the horizon. Long shadows stretch across the landscape. Travelers gather around evening fires. Animals settle quietly nearby. Above them, countless stars emerge one by one. Tomorrow, the journey will continue. The routes will extend farther. The connections will grow stronger. And the first true caravans will begin carrying travelers deeper into deserts and across lands that seem almost endless. By sunrise, the caravan is already moving. The campfire has faded into a small patch of grey ash. Blankets have been folded. Water skins have been checked. Bundles of goods are secured carefully against the sides of patient animals. Ahead lies a landscape that appears almost endless. Sand stretches toward the horizon in soft waves. Distant ridges shimmer beneath the morning light. The air feels still, as though the desert itself has not fully awakened. The travelers move quietly. Conversation is limited during these early hours. There is a rhythm to caravan travel, a slow, steady rhythm. The sound of padded footsteps, the gentle creak of leather straps, the faint ringing of bells hanging from harnesses, the occasional murmur between companions. These sounds become the music of the road. Hours pass. The sun climbs higher. Shadows shorten. Heat slowly settles across the landscape. For many travelers along the Silk Road, deserts became some of the most memorable parts of the journey. Not because they were dramatic, not because they were exciting, but because they felt immense. The desert had a way of making people feel very small. A single traveler standing among the dunes could look in every direction and see only open space. Sky above, sand below, distance everywhere. Yet these deserts were not empty. Hidden within them were routes known to experienced guides. Generations of travelers had learned where water could be found, where shelter existed, where difficult terrain could be avoided. Knowledge turned wilderness into passage. Without that knowledge, the desert could seem impossible. With it, the road remained open. Among the greatest companions of Silk Road travelers were camels, strong, patient, remarkably suited to the landscapes they crossed. Unlike horses, camels could travel long distances with limited water. They carried heavy loads. They endured heat. they navigated terrain that challenged many other animals. To merchants, a healthy camel represented more than transportation. It represented possibility, the ability to move goods across vast distances, the ability to connect distant markets, the ability to continue when conditions became difficult. Many travelers developed a deep respect for these animals. Days on the road created familiarity. Handlers learned individual personalities. Some camels walked steadily without complaint. Others displayed stubborn habits that became well known among caravan members. Long journeys encouraged relationships not only between people, but also between travelers and the animals accompanying them. The road often felt less like a collection of individuals and more like a moving community. As the morning continues, sunlight brightens the dunes. The caravan advances slowly. No one rushes. There is little reason to hurry. The desert rewards patience. Travelers who move steadily often arrive more reliably than those who exhaust themselves chasing speed. This lesson becomes familiar to many merchants. The Silk Road teaches endurance, not haste. Somewhere beyond the dunes, another caravan follows a different route. The travelers will never meet, yet they share the same sky, the same wind, the same vast landscape stretching beyond sight. By midday, the heat becomes stronger. Travel slows. People seek shade whenever possible. A rocky outcrop, a cluster of trees near a water source, even a small patch of shelter becomes valuable. Meals remain simple. Bread, dried fruit, nuts, cheese. Foods capable of surviving long journeys. Nothing elaborate, nothing excessive. Just enough to sustain travelers through another day on the road. During these pauses, conversations often emerge. Stories pass from one traveler to another. Some discuss recent markets. Others describe distant cities. Guides share observations about upcoming terrain. Veteran merchants offer advice to younger companions experiencing their first major journey. The road becomes a classroom without walls. Knowledge travels constantly. A traveler who listens carefully may learn more than one who speaks. Information can be as valuable as any cargo. Knowing where to find water, knowing which routes remain safe, knowing which cities offer strong demand for certain goods. Such knowledge often determines success, and so stories spread naturally, across deserts, across valleys, across generations. As afternoon approaches, the caravan resumes movement. The sun remains high. Heat ripples above the sand. In the distance, strange shapes sometimes appear, pools of water that vanish upon approach, entire landscapes that seem to float. The desert occasionally plays tricks upon the eyes. Travelers learn not to trust every distant image. Patience matters. Observation matters. Experience matters. Newcomers often find the desert unsettling at first. The scale feels unfamiliar. The silence feels unusual. The horizon appears endless. Yet over time, many travelers discover a surprising beauty hidden within the emptiness. The changing colors of the sky, the patterns formed by wind across sand, the way sunlight transforms the landscape throughout the day. The desert rewards those willing to notice small details. A single flower emerging after rain, birds circling above a distant oasis, tracks left by animals during the night. Life exists here, quietly, persistently, often hidden from casual view. As evening approaches, the air begins cooling once again. The harsh brightness of afternoon softens. Long shadows return. Travelers start searching for a suitable place to stop. Camp locations are chosen carefully. Access to water remains important. Protection from strong winds is helpful. Space must exist for animals to rest comfortably. When camp is finally established, a familiar routine unfolds. Bundles are unloaded, animals are checked, fires are prepared, meals are shared. The temporary settlement gradually comes to life. Small circles of conversation appear around the camp. Lantern light flickers, steam rises from simple cooking pots. The atmosphere feels almost peaceful. Despite the long day, despite the distance traveled, despite the challenges still ahead. Many travelers come to appreciate these evenings. They provide opportunities to rest both body and mind. A chance to pause, a chance to reflect, a chance to simply exist beneath the stars. The night sky above the desert often feels larger than anywhere else. Without city lights, countless stars become visible. Constellations stretch from horizon to horizon. The Milky Way glows softly overhead. Travelers frequently use these stars for navigation, yet they also inspire something deeper: wonder. A reminder of the vastness surrounding every journey. A merchant staring upward might think about distant destinations. A guide might consider tomorrow's route. Someone new to the road might simply admire the beauty above. The stars belong to everyone. No empire owns them. No border contains them. They watch over every caravan equally. Night deepens. Conversations become quieter. Some travelers drift toward sleep. Others remain awake beside fading fires. The desert itself seems to settle into silence. Only the wind continues moving, softly crossing the dunes, carrying grains of sand from one place to another, much like the merchants themselves, always moving, always continuing, always following routes that stretch beyond sight. And tomorrow, the caravan will move again, farther into the great landscapes of the Silk Road, toward mountains rising in the distance, toward passes carved through stone, toward roads that climb higher than the deserts left behind. Several days later, the horizon begins to change. The endless openness of the desert slowly gives way to darker shapes in the distance. At first, they appear almost like clouds resting upon the earth, but with each passing hour, the shapes grow clearer. Mountains, layer upon layer of mountains. Their peaks rise above the surrounding landscape, some touched by snow even beneath a bright sky. The caravan continues forward. The bells hanging from the camels sound softer here, carried away by cool winds descending from higher elevations. The air itself feels different, crisper, fresher, less dry than the desert left behind. Many travelers along the Silk Road eventually reached places like these, great mountain systems that stretched across vast regions, natural barriers standing between one world and another. To merchants, guides, and caravan leaders, mountains inspired both respect and caution. Crossing them required patience. The road became narrower, the terrain became more demanding, and the journey often slowed considerably. Yet the mountains also offered something precious: passage. Hidden among cliffs and valleys were routes connecting distant regions. Routes discovered long ago and improved through generations of travel. Without these mountain passages, many parts of the Silk Road would never have existed. The caravan gradually approaches the foothills. The ground becomes uneven beneath the animals' feet. Gentle slopes replace flat desert sands. Small streams appear. Wild grasses grow beside rocky paths. Birdsong occasionally drifts through the air. After so many days surrounded by dunes, these changes feel almost surprising. The world seems to transform one step at a time. A traveler might begin the month crossing hot deserts and end it surrounded by cold mountain winds. Such contrasts became part of life on the Silk Road. The route passed through an astonishing variety of landscapes. Every region possessed its own character, its own challenges, its own beauty. As the road climbs higher, the caravan's pace slows. There is no advantage in rushing. Mountain travel rewards caution. Steep paths require careful footing. Loose stones demand attention. Narrow ledges leave little room for mistakes. Experienced guides understand this well. Their knowledge becomes especially valuable here. They know which routes remain reliable. They know where weather changes quickly. They know where travelers can find shelter if conditions worsen. Many caravan members come to trust these guides deeply. A guide's experience often means the difference between confidence and uncertainty. The mountains can feel confusing to newcomers. Valleys twist unexpectedly. Peaks block familiar landmarks. Paths disappear around cliffs. Yet skilled guides move through these landscapes with quiet familiarity, as though reading a map invisible to everyone else. Far below, rivers carve their way through stone. Snowmelt feeds streams that wind across valleys. Small settlements appear in sheltered locations. Clusters of homes built where water and fertile land allow life to flourish. These mountain communities often welcome travelers. Trade creates opportunities. Merchants purchase supplies. Local residents offer food, lodging, or information. News travels both directions. Stories arrive from distant places. Stories depart toward even more distant destinations. The Silk Road thrives upon such exchanges. Not only goods, not only wealth, but conversations, relationships, shared experiences. Somewhere beyond the next ridge, another traveler rests beside a stream. Perhaps they are moving east, perhaps west. The direction matters less than the journey itself. For everyone on these roads, movement becomes a way of life. The weather grows cooler as elevation increases. Heavy cloaks appear more frequently. Campfires become especially welcome after sunset. The mountains remind travelers that climate can change rapidly. Warm afternoons may lead to cold evenings. Clear skies may suddenly fill with clouds. Flexibility becomes essential. Many merchants learn to carry supplies suited for different conditions. The road constantly teaches adaptation. The travelers who succeed are rarely the strongest. They are often the most patient, the most observant, the most willing to adjust. One afternoon, the caravan reaches a high pass. The climb has taken hours, perhaps even days. The final ascent feels slow, deliberate, step after step, until suddenly the landscape opens, and there, spread out beyond the mountains, lies another world. Valleys stretching toward distant horizons. New rivers, new routes, new possibilities. Many travelers remember moments like this, standing at the edge of one region while looking into another, feeling the scale of the journey already completed, and the scale of the journey still ahead. The Silk Road often unfolded in stages. Each mountain range crossed revealed another. Each destination reached became the starting point for something new. The road seemed endless, yet somehow travelers continued following it, partly because trade demanded movement, partly because curiosity encouraged exploration, and partly because each successful journey inspired another. The mountains also create opportunities for quiet reflection. Travel naturally slows here. Long stretches of walking encourage thought. A merchant may consider family waiting at home. A caravan leader may review plans for future markets. A young traveler might simply admire landscapes unlike anything previously seen. The mountains have a way of encouraging silence. Not uncomfortable silence, peaceful silence, the kind that allows observation, the kind that invites appreciation. High above the valleys, the world feels larger and somehow calmer. As evening approaches, the caravan finds shelter beside a protected hillside. The camp is smaller tonight. Space is limited. Animals rest close together. Travelers gather around several fires. Warm food tastes especially satisfying after a day spent climbing. Steam rises into cool mountain air. Voices remain low. The surrounding peaks seem to absorb sound. Darkness arrives gradually. The last sunlight lingers upon distant summits before finally fading away. Soon the stars return, bright, clear, countless. Many travelers gaze upward before sleep. The same stars watched over desert camps. The same stars guide journeys through mountains. The road changes. The landscapes change. Yet certain things remain constant. The sky, the companionship of fellow travelers, the steady desire to continue forward. Night settles fully across the mountains. The fires burn lower. The animals grow quiet. Only a distant stream can be heard flowing through the darkness. Tomorrow, the caravan will descend into new valleys, toward larger settlements, toward busier markets, toward cities where languages mingle and cultures meet. The mountains have carried the travelers safely across another stage of the journey, and beyond the next horizon, the great trading cities of the Silk Road are waiting. The first sign of the city is not its walls, nor its towers, nor even the distant rooftops rising above the horizon. The first sign is movement. More travelers begin appearing on the road. A shepherd guiding animals toward nearby pastures. Farmers carrying produce from surrounding villages. Merchants arriving from different directions. Small groups of travelers converging toward the same destination. The road gradually grows busier. The quiet rhythm of mountain travel slowly gives way to something different. A sense of arrival. A sense that many journeys are meeting in one place. As the caravan continues forward, the city finally emerges. Sunlight reflects from walls and buildings. Smoke rises gently from cooking fires. Voices drift across the air long before individual words can be understood. After weeks of deserts, valleys, and mountain passes, the sight feels almost magical. A place where roads come together. A place where stories gather. A place where the world feels larger than any single traveler. Cities became the beating heart of the Silk Road. Not because they controlled every route, not because they commanded every merchant, but because they created opportunities for exchange. Goods arrived, goods departed, people met, ideas traveled, cultures encountered one another. Life flowed constantly through these urban crossroads. The caravan approaches one of the gates. Travelers pass through at a steady pace. Some arrive with heavily loaded animals. Others carry only personal belongings. Guards observe quietly. Officials record information. The process feels familiar to experienced merchants. Cities often maintain systems designed to manage the steady flow of visitors. Once inside, the atmosphere changes immediately. The streets feel alive. Footsteps echo across stone. Market vendors arrange goods beneath colorful awnings. Craftsmen work in open workshops. Children move through crowded lanes. The scent of food drifts through the air. Every direction offers something new to observe. For travelers arriving after long journeys, the experience can feel overwhelming at first. So many sounds, so many faces, so many languages blending together. Yet this diversity is precisely what makes Silk Road cities remarkable. People from distant regions often meet here for the first time. A merchant from the east may negotiate with a trader from the west. A traveler from the mountains may share a meal with someone from the desert. Different customs exist side by side. Different traditions coexist. The city becomes a meeting place for worlds that might otherwise remain separated. Many travelers spend hours simply wandering the markets. Rows of stalls stretch along busy streets. Some display fabrics shimmering in sunlight. Others offer ceramics, jewelry, spices, tools, books, or carved decorations. Every item carries a story. Every object has traveled its own journey before arriving here. A small piece of silk may have crossed deserts. A gemstone may have come through mountain passes. A spice may have traveled farther than the person purchasing it. The market becomes a map of distant places, not drawn on parchment, displayed through goods and people. The conversations are just as valuable as the merchandise. Merchants discuss prices. Travelers exchange information about routes. Guides recommend safe passages. News spreads quickly through these gatherings. A city connected to the Silk Road rarely feels isolated. Information arrives constantly. The wider world always seems present, even for those who never leave the city itself. Somewhere in the marketplace, two strangers share tea. One describes distant grasslands stretching beyond sight. The other speaks of crowded ports beside warm seas. Neither has visited the other's homeland. Yet for a few moments, both places become real through conversation. This is one of the quiet gifts of the Silk Road, the ability to expand people's understanding of the world, not through conquest, not through force, but through simple human contact. As afternoon sunlight fills the streets, business continues. Negotiations unfold patiently. Many merchants understand that successful trade depends upon relationships. Trust develops slowly. A good reputation can take years to build. Reliability matters. Honesty matters. Consistency matters. The road is long. Travelers often meet the same people repeatedly over many journeys. Strong relationships become valuable assets. And so business frequently unfolds with patience rather than haste. The city itself reflects centuries of movement and exchange. Architectural styles blend together. Decorative patterns reveal influences from multiple regions. Foods combine ingredients originating from distant places. Languages borrow words from neighboring cultures. Every street contains evidence of connection, evidence that people have been arriving and departing for generations. In some neighborhoods, craftsmen focus on specific trades. Metalworkers shape tools and ornaments. Weavers create intricate textiles. Potters carefully form clay into useful and beautiful objects. Visitors often pause to watch these artisans at work. Skill commands admiration regardless of language. A beautifully crafted object can communicate without words. The craftsmen themselves frequently learn from techniques introduced by travelers. Ideas move as freely as goods. One innovation inspires another. One design influences the next. The city evolves continuously through these exchanges. As evening approaches, the markets begin slowing. Not ending, simply softening. The busiest hours gradually fade. Shadows lengthen across the streets. Lanterns are prepared. The pace becomes gentler. Many travelers seek places to rest. Some stay with friends or business partners. Others rent rooms at inns. Some remain only a few nights before continuing onward. Others stay for months. Occasionally, travelers arrive intending to leave quickly and discover reasons to remain much longer. Cities possess a certain pull. After difficult weeks on the road, comfort becomes appealing. Fresh food, safe lodging, reliable water, opportunities for conversation. These simple things feel luxurious after extended travel. Tonight, the caravan members gather in the courtyard illuminated by lantern light. Their animals rest nearby. The day's business is complete. Meals are shared. Stories flow easily. Some travelers discuss future destinations. Others reflect upon roads already crossed. Laughter occasionally rises above the surrounding sounds of the city, yet the atmosphere remains calm, comfortable, relaxed. Beyond the walls, roads continue stretching toward distant horizons. Caravans continue arriving. Caravans continue departing. The movement never truly stops. Even while one group rests, another begins its journey. The Silk Road exists because of this constant motion, a great network sustained by countless individual travelers, each carrying something valuable, each contributing to connections larger than themselves. The lanterns glow softly as night settles across the city. Somewhere beyond the rooftops, stars begin appearing overhead. Tomorrow, trade will continue. New faces will arrive. New stories will be exchanged. And among the countless goods filling these markets are treasures that have become famous across continents. Silk, spices, jewels, rare materials, objects that inspire people to travel extraordinary distances. The next stage of the journey lies among the goods themselves, and the stories they carry from one end of the world to the other. Morning sunlight filters through the market streets. Shopkeepers lift wooden shutters. Merchants uncover carefully protected goods. The city awakens gradually, as though stretching after a peaceful night's rest. Soon, the familiar sounds return. Footsteps, conversations, the rustle of fabrics, the clinking of tools, the gentle hum of commerce beginning once again. For travelers arriving along the Silk Road, few places offered more fascination than the markets, not because of their size alone, but because they contained objects gathered from astonishing distances. A person could stand in one marketplace and encounter goods connected to deserts, mountains, forests, rivers, and seas far beyond the horizon. Every stall offered evidence that the world was larger than it appeared, and every object carried a journey hidden within it. Among the most admired goods was silk, soft, light, smooth beneath the fingertips. When sunlight touched its surface, it seemed almost to glow. Many travelers encountering fine silk for the first time found it difficult to forget. Its beauty stood apart from ordinary fabrics. Its texture felt unusual. Its elegance attracted attention immediately. Merchants handled it carefully. Customers examined it with admiration. And stories about it traveled almost as widely as the fabric itself. Silk represented more than clothing. It represented distance, mystery, connection. A single piece of cloth might pass through countless hands before reaching its final destination. From weavers and traders to caravan leaders and merchants, each person became part of its journey. The fabric itself remained silent, yet its presence told a story stretching across continents. Nearby, other merchants display spices, small sacks filled with fragrant treasures. The scents drift gently through the market air. Some are warm and earthy, others sweet, others sharp and unfamiliar. Travelers often recognize spice sellers before seeing them. The aroma announces their presence from several streets away. Spices transform ordinary meals. They add flavor, variety, comfort. For many households, even small quantities hold great value. And because certain spices grow only in specific regions, long-distance trade becomes essential. A cook preparing food in one city may rely upon ingredients that began their journey thousands of miles away. The Silk Road quietly connects kitchens as well as kingdoms. Further along the market street, merchants offer precious stones. Some sparkle beneath the sunlight. Others display deep colors hidden within polished surfaces. Blue, green, red, gold. Each stone attracts different admirers. Jewelry makers examine them carefully. Collectors appreciate their rarity. Travelers pause simply to admire their beauty. Many gemstones begin their journeys deep within mountains, extracted from remote locations, transported across difficult terrain, protected carefully during travel. Their value often reflects not only their appearance, but also the effort required to move them across the world. Yet not every valuable item is rare or luxurious. Many of the Silk Road's most important goods are practical. Textiles, metal tools, paper, ceramics, medicinal herbs, food products, everyday necessities. Trade supports ordinary life as much as extraordinary wealth. A farmer purchasing a better tool, a family obtaining useful household items, a craftsman acquiring materials for future work. These quiet exchanges rarely attract attention, yet they form the foundation of commerce. Without them, the larger trade networks could not thrive. The marketplace itself reflects this balance. Luxury and practicality coexist side by side. A wealthy merchant examines fine silk while nearby someone purchases cooking supplies. A noble admires jewelry while a traveler seeks replacement sandals. The road serves many different people, and the market welcomes them all. Somewhere beyond the crowded streets, another caravan is unloading its cargo. Dust still clings to the animals. The travelers are tired, yet there is satisfaction in arrival. Weeks of effort have finally brought their goods safely to market. Now another stage of the journey begins. Buying, selling, negotiating, preparing for whatever comes next. Many merchants spend years learning the art of trade. Success requires more than transporting goods. It requires understanding people, knowing what customers desire, recognizing changing trends, building trust, listening carefully, observing patiently. The most successful merchants often possess remarkable knowledge about places they have never personally visited. They learn through conversations, through reports from travelers, through relationships stretching across great distances. Information itself becomes a valuable commodity. News about harvests, weather conditions, road closures, market demand. Such knowledge helps merchants make decisions, and so marketplaces become centers of communication as well as commerce. Messages spread quickly through these gatherings. A traveler arriving from one region brings updates. Another departs carrying fresh information elsewhere. The road constantly exchanges ideas alongside goods. Paper provides an excellent example. Lightweight, useful, capable of carrying knowledge. As methods of papermaking spread through trade networks, written communication becomes easier in many regions. Books can travel. Records can be preserved. Ideas can reach wider audiences. A simple sheet of paper may seem ordinary, yet its impact can be profound. Many innovations follow similar paths. A technique learned in one place appears later in another. A new design spreads gradually through trade contacts. Knowledge moves quietly, patiently, one conversation at a time. The goods themselves often inspire curiosity about distant cultures. A merchant displaying unfamiliar ceramics may explain where they originated. A trader selling rare fabrics may describe the people who created them. Customers learn not only about objects, but also about the communities connected to them. Trade encourages imagination. It allows people to glimpse worlds beyond their own experience. The marketplace becomes a collection of stories. Stories woven into cloth, stories carved into wood, stories preserved in spices, metals, and paper. Every item has travelled. Every item has witnessed part of the road. As afternoon sunlight shifts across the city, business continues steadily. Some negotiations conclude quickly. Others unfold over many hours. Patience remains a valuable skill. The road has already taught travellers that meaningful things rarely happen in haste. The same lesson applies to commerce. Relationships grow gradually. Trust develops over time. Success often belongs to those willing to think beyond the present moment. By evening, many stores begin closing. Goods are carefully stored. Accounts are reviewed. Plans are made for tomorrow. The marketplace grows quieter, yet traces of the day's activity remain. Footprints in the dust, lingering scents drifting through the air, fragments of conversations still echoing in memory. The city settles into another peaceful night. Lanterns glow warmly. Travellers gather for meals. Stories continue flowing between strangers who may soon become friends. Beyond the city walls, roads stretch toward distant horizons. Roads carrying silk, roads carrying spices, roads carrying paper, gemstones, tools, and countless other goods. But perhaps most importantly, roads carrying people. Because every object on the Silk Road depends upon human hands, human choices, human journeys. And as trade grows stronger, entire civilizations begin finding themselves connected through these remarkable networks. The road is no longer merely transporting goods. It is bringing distant worlds closer together. The caravan leaves the city at dawn. Behind it, market streets are only beginning to awaken. Lanterns fade in the growing light. Shopkeepers prepare for another day. Smoke rises gently from morning fires. Ahead, the road stretches toward yet another horizon, another region, another civilization, another chapter of the journey. By now, the Silk Road has become far more than a collection of trading routes. The network reaches across deserts, mountains, valleys, and grasslands. Cities are connected to other cities. Merchants are connected to other merchants. Travelers carry not only goods, but also ideas, customs, stories, and knowledge. The world remains vast, yet it feels slightly smaller than before. Not because distances have changed, but because connections have grown stronger. In different corners of Asia, powerful empires oversee lands linked by trade. Some control fertile river valleys. Others govern great cities. Some watch over mountain routes. Others maintain roads crossing open plains. Their languages may differ. Their traditions may differ. Their rulers may never meet. Yet through commerce they become part of the same larger story. A merchant setting out from the east may never reach the western edge of the Silk Road. Likewise, a trader beginning in the west may never see the eastern kingdoms where certain goods originate. Still, their lives become connected. The choices made by one person can influence another living thousands of miles away. This quiet web of relationships spreads across continents. The process feels almost invisible. No single traveler sees the entire network. No caravan crosses every route. Yet together they create something remarkable. A bridge between distant worlds. As the caravan moves through open countryside, fields appear beside the road. Farmers work beneath the morning sun. Water channels carry life into cultivated land. Villages rest among orchards and gardens. These peaceful scenes remind travelers that trade depends upon many people beyond the merchants themselves. Farmers grow food. Craftsmen create goods. Builders maintain roads and structures. Innkeepers welcome visitors. Guides share knowledge. Countless individuals contribute to the functioning of the Silk Road. The network survives because communities support it. Somewhere beyond the hills, another caravan begins its own day. Its travelers speak different languages. Its destination lies elsewhere. Yet their journey mirrors this one. The road connects them even if they never meet. As trade expands, ideas begin moving more freely between regions. Travelers carry stories about distant beliefs. Scholars share knowledge. Religious teachings spread through conversations and written texts. Artistic styles influence neighboring cultures. Musical traditions travel with wandering performers. New foods appear in unfamiliar places. The movement of ideas often happens quietly, without announcements, without fanfare. One person learns something useful, then teaches another. The process repeats. A small change in one place gradually becomes visible somewhere else. The Silk Road becomes a pathway not only for commerce, but also for human creativity. Consider a traveler arriving in a city far from home. The architecture may appear unfamiliar. The clothing may differ. The language may sound strange. Yet certain experiences remain recognizable. Families gathering for meals, children playing in courtyards, neighbors helping one another, people working, resting, laughing and dreaming. Trade exposes travelers to differences, but it also reveals similarities. Many merchants speak of this after years on the road. The farther they travel, the more they discover that people everywhere share common hopes. Safety, prosperity, friendship, a meaningful life. These observations create understanding. Understanding encourages cooperation, and cooperation strengthens the road itself. The exchange of knowledge proves especially valuable. In some regions, advances in astronomy help travelers navigate. Elsewhere, improvements in agriculture increase harvests. Medical knowledge spreads gradually between communities. Techniques for construction, engineering, and craftsmanship move from one area to another. Rarely does a single innovation transform the world overnight. Instead, ideas travel slowly, patiently, one conversation at a time, one manuscript at a time, one traveler at a time. A merchant resting beside a campfire may hear about a useful technique from another region. Months later, that knowledge reaches a distant city. Years later, it may become common practice somewhere entirely different. The road functions as a channel through which human experience flows. And unlike cargo, ideas often become more valuable when shared. As afternoon approaches, the caravan passes another settlement. The marketplace here is smaller than the great trading city left behind. Yet signs of connection remain visible. Imported goods appear among local products. Foreign coins circulate alongside regional currency. Travelers arrive carrying stories from distant lands. Even modest communities participate in the larger network. The Silk Road touches many lives, not only those making grand journeys, not only wealthy merchants. Ordinary families benefit as well. A craftsman gains access to better materials. A farmer acquires improved tools. A scholar encounters new knowledge. A cook discovers unfamiliar ingredients. Trade enriches daily life in countless subtle ways. The changes often feel gradual, almost unnoticeable, Yet over time, they become significant. As evening nears, the caravan makes camp beside a river. The water reflects the colors of the setting sun. Birds settle among nearby trees. The atmosphere feels peaceful. Travelers gather around cooking fires. Meals are prepared. Conversations begin. Many evenings along the Silk Road unfold this way. Simple, comfortable, human. The grand network connecting continents ultimately depends upon moments like these. People sharing information. People helping one another. People building trust. The road may span thousands of miles, yet its foundation rests upon individual relationships. A guide offering advice. A merchant honoring an agreement. A host welcoming strangers. These actions create the stability that allows trade to flourish. The stars appear once more above the camp. The river flows quietly nearby. Some travelers study maps. Others gaze into the flames. A few simply sit in silence, appreciating the calm after another day of travel. Beyond the darkness, countless other camps exist, some in deserts, some in mountains, some beside distant cities. Together they form part of the same vast story, a story woven from roads, goods, and human connections. Yet among all the places along the Silk Road, few capture that story more completely than the caravanserais, the roadside inns where travelers from every direction pause to rest, places where journeys briefly intersect before continuing onward, places where strangers become companions, if only for a night. And tomorrow, the road will lead there. The first traveler notices the walls just before sunset. They rise gently from the landscape ahead, strong, simple, welcoming. Not a fortress guarding treasure, not a city filled with crowded streets. Something quieter, something built for people in motion. As the caravan draws closer, details emerge. A large entrance gate, courtyards sheltered from wind, rows of rooms arranged around open spaces, water for animals, places to rest, places to eat, places to sleep. After a long day on the road, the sight brings relief. The caravanserai has appeared. For countless travelers along the Silk Road, caravanserais became some of the most cherished places on the journey. The road could be demanding. Deserts stretched for weeks. Mountains required patience. Weather changed unexpectedly. Distances seemed endless. A caravanserai offered a pause, a chance to stop moving, a chance to recover, a chance to feel for a little while that the destination had arrived. As evening shadows lengthen, travelers guide their animals through the gate. The atmosphere immediately feels different from the open road, safer, calmer, contained. The sounds of travel continue, but they become softer. Footsteps echo across stone. Animals settle into designated areas. Voices drift through the courtyard. Lanterns begin glowing one by one. The day's journey is finally complete. Many caravanserais occupy strategic locations along important routes. Some stand near deserts where shelter is scarce. Others rest beside mountain roads. Many appear roughly a day's travel apart, allowing caravans to move from one safe resting place to the next. Their presence transforms difficult journeys into manageable stages. A traveler no longer thinks only about crossing an entire desert. Instead, they focus on reaching the next caravanserai, then the next, and the next. Large journeys become collections of smaller ones. Inside the courtyard, activity continues. Merchants unload cargo. Handlers care for animals. Water is distributed. Simple meals are prepared. The routines have been repeated thousands of times before. Everything feels familiar, predictable, comforting. Experienced travelers often know exactly what to do upon arrival. The road teaches habits that become second nature. A camel receives attention before its owner rests. Supplies are checked. Equipment is inspected. Only after these tasks are complete does relaxation truly begin. The animals themselves seem to appreciate the pause. After days of steady travel, they stand quietly in sheltered spaces. They drink deeply. They rest. Tomorrow they will continue, but tonight they recover. Travel along the Silk Road depends as much upon animals as people. Without them, many journeys would simply not be possible. As darkness settles outside the walls, the caravanserai begins revealing its greatest gift, conversation. People arrive from different directions, different cultures, different backgrounds, yet for one evening they share the same shelter, the same meals, the same fires. Stories flow naturally. A merchant from the east describes a bustling city visited weeks earlier. A traveler from the west speaks about distant ports beside warm seas. A guide shares observations about changing weather in the mountains. A craftsman discusses techniques learned during previous journeys. The courtyard becomes a gathering place for knowledge. No formal teacher stands at the center. No audience sits quietly taking notes. Instead, information moves through ordinary conversations, person to person, story to story. The road itself becomes the teacher. Somewhere beside a lantern, two strangers compare maps. Nearby, another group exchanges route advice. Elsewhere, someone simply listens. Listening can be valuable. Many travelers learn their most useful lessons this way. A warning about a difficult pass. News of a recently opened route. Advice regarding trustworthy trading partners. Small pieces of information often prove remarkably important. The Silk Road thrives because people share what they know. The atmosphere remains peaceful. There is no need to rush, no need to hurry toward tomorrow. For a few precious hours, everyone can simply rest. The walls protect against wind. The fires provide warmth. The road can wait until morning. Some travelers spend their evenings writing notes or reviewing records. Others clean equipment. Many gather around meals. Food often tastes especially satisfying after long days of travel. Simple bread, stews, rice, tea, fresh ingredients obtained from nearby communities. Nothing extravagant. Yet comfort often matters more than luxury. The caravanserai provides exactly that. Comfort. A place where tired travelers can feel human again. A place where movement pauses. A place where journeys breathe. As the night deepens, the courtyard grows quieter. Conversations become softer. Some travelers retire to their rooms. Others remain beside fading fires. The stars appear above the open central courtyard, bright points of light scattered across the darkness. The same stars that guided caravans across deserts, the same stars that watched over mountain camps, the same stars that shine above distant cities. Travelers often find comfort in that continuity. The road changes constantly. Landscapes shift, empires rise and fall, markets grow and shrink. Yet certain things remain familiar. The stars, the companionship of fellow travelers, the steady rhythm of the journey. A young merchant experiencing the Silk Road for the first time may sit quietly tonight, listening, observing, absorbing everything. Years later, that same merchant may become the experienced traveler sharing advice with newcomers. The cycle continues. Knowledge passes forward. The road teaches each generation in turn. Outside the walls, darkness blankets the surrounding landscape. Deserts wait patiently. Mountains stand beneath moonlight. Roads stretch toward distant horizons. Tomorrow, travelers will scatter once more, some heading east, some west, some north, some south. The gathering will dissolve. The stories will continue moving. The network will remain alive. That constant movement defines the Silk Road. Not a single road, not a single destination, but countless journeys intersecting for brief moments before continuing onward. The caravanserai captures that spirit perfectly. A temporary meeting place in a world of motion, a pause between chapters, a resting place between horizons. The lanterns burn lower. The fires become glowing embers. One by one, travelers drift toward sleep. And somewhere beyond the silence of the night, changes are already beginning. New roads are emerging. New paths are attracting attention. The Silk Road itself is slowly transforming. The road remains alive, but its next chapter will be different.